Did the best thing that ever happened to us as Baylor fans actually rot our brains a little bit? This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel. I am your host, Cam Stewart. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. We're the only ones bringing you nothing but Baylor athletics content 5 days a week that ain't coming straight from the university. So we're proud of that. Anyway, happy Thursday to you. We have got like 3 different segments, like 3 completely different topics. I haven't done that in a while, because I like kind of having a conversation, but I think these are 3 good topics. Obviously, it's why I put them up there, and ones that I think you'd be interested in all of them. So look, great instincts by me. Going to start with that question I posed in the open. The best thing that ever happened to us as Baylor fans, in the long run, is it starting to hurt us? Maybe, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Of course, the thing that I'm talking about is that night in April, the 2021 men's basketball national championship, going 28-2, beating previously undefeated Gonzaga. I think you guys know the story by now. One shining moment and all that. Yeah, my greatest night as a Baylor fan. I'm sure many of yours as well. One of the great stories in the history of college sports and in college basketball. And that team was so dominant. So dominant that it might be, or it might have an effect on us as fans as we rate these Baylor teams that have come after it. So Ted Harrison, who's the Baylor alum who makes the great videos, the hype videos and everything, he put out on Twitter the other day that he thinks there's, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but he put out something to the effect of, I think there's a lot of criticism around these very good teams that Baylor's had over the last couple of years because of how dominant the 2021 team was, that we hold the team to that standard, even though that is arguably the best college basketball team of this century. And this is something I had thought about before, and I teased the idea of doing an episode about it. Didn't quite know how to do it, but this kind of gave me the opportunity because he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And I am a victim of this. Big time. Big time. And I think we all are at some point in our subconscious where we just think, what would that 2021 team do in this scenario? Baylor didn't do that. They don't look like this 2021 team. That team is 1 in a million, especially for Baylor. Like that is genuinely, I think, them and 2009 North Carolina, 2018 Villanova, those are the best teams of this century. 2001 Duke, I guess you could put near there. But like, not just a national champion, but like all-time good. And so that's our only frame of reference for a national champion. And since we've won that, that's what we want to hold the team to as a standard. And so I've pulled up the numbers to show you just how rare this was. So obviously Baylor right now is in midseason, and these numbers are coming from a full season. But when you compare it to the 2021 team, it's no contest. And this is still a good Baylor team, right? And so you look at it, and the points per game, 83 and only 65 against in that 21 season. So an average margin of victory of 17 points over the course of the season. That's like, wow, that's insane. Let's look at Baylor now, 23-24. 85 points a game, 69 points against, 16 average margin of victory. And you're like, wow. Or you're saying, Cam, well, that's the whole season. Of course, they beat some teams by 40, right? And yeah, when you look at the conference schedule, that 2021 team, the scoring differential is still crazy. Looking at it now, it's 81-67. That's like really, really good. Whereas this team right now is at 71-68. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit unfair, but there are some similarities in these two teams when you just look at any of the games here, not just the conference schedule, but looking at the rebounding numbers, which is always one that I look at for national championship teams. The best rebounding teams are always there towards the end of the season. And that 2021 team was no different, especially offensive rebounds. That's what we know about that team and about the great Scott Drew teams. They got 12 and a half offensive rebounds a game. That's top 30 in the nation. So, not top 5, but top 30. That's still pretty good. This Baylor team is 71st in offensive rebounds. So you're thinking, oh, Cam, they're way off the pace. Not really. That other team was at 13. This is at 12.2. We're talking about less than one rebound difference. And the points are very similar throughout the whole season. The field goal percentage is very similar throughout the whole season. The 3-point percentage is similar. Now, we know that Baylor's on a bit of a nosedive in that this year. They're still very good at it, but especially before the Texas game, the 3 or 4 games before that, it wasn't good. Whereas the 2021 team shot lights out the whole season. They were number 1 in the country the whole season. Right now, Baylor's down to 3rd at 41% from beyond the arc. So all that to say, Baylor's got some similarities to that 2021 team statistically. But I said that team's a statistical anomaly. They're one of the best teams of this generation, of this century. So I thought, let's go back and look at last year's national champion, UConn, which walked through the NCAA tournament, won every game by double digits. I mean, maybe not considered one of the great teams of this century, but one of the most impressive when you look at what they did in the tournament. Absolutely. So let's look at that. Okay, I talked about the rebounding thing. Offensive rebounds, 2022-23 UConn was 12th in the nation in offensive rebounds with 13 per game. Same as the 2021 Baylor Bears. So just less than one offensive rebound a game ahead of what this current team is at. I look at field goal percentage. Last year, this is not just 3-point, just regular field goal percentage. UConn, 68th in the nation, 46%. Baylor this year, I'm looking at the wrong thing. 14th in the country. Yeah, I gave you the wrong one for UConn. Sorry. UConn's is, where are they? Yeah, 46%, 68th. No, I gave you the right one. Baylor is at 50%, 49.5% as a matter of fact, and 14th. The one thing that is a bit of a difference between that 21 and the 24 Baylor teams is the turnovers. So I look at UConn's. They averaged about 13 turnovers a game. That was 131st in the nation. This year's Baylor team, by comparison, 11.3, which is 243rd. So you look at that and you're like, well, that stinks. But it's less. UConn, in fact, the whole season, UConn averaged losing the turnover battle. They only forced 12 and a half. That's the biggest difference between that 21 Baylor team and this Baylor team was the turnover differential. That team was plus 5.5 when it came to turnover differential. And this year's Baylor team is still plus, which is +2. Whereas last year's national champion that beat everyone by double digits in the tournament was minus in turnover differential. So this is still statistically a team that can compete with the very best. So it's time for all of us, myself very much included in that. I am very much a perpetrator of this, to stop comparing it to that 2021 team. I know it's our only frame of reference for championships. I get that. It's better than a lot of teams can do, right? And look at the elite teams of the last few years, the ones who have made the runs, who have cut down the nets, who have had the one shining moment, and look at how Baylor stacks up with them. Because it's not that far off. Whenever we go into a tournament, there are 8 or 10 teams that can realistically win this thing on a good year, in the year of parity, right? We have, certain points of the season where it's the top 15 or whatever it may be. Baylor is still in that. They are still in that. And they were last year, to be fair, a team that went out in the second round. So a lot of us, myself included, very much, we need to pump the brakes on this a little bit and kind of let this play out a little bit more. Of course, we can be critical. Of course we can. There are still problems with this team, but they're fixable. They have great personnel on this team. And statistically, they are playing at a very high level, a Final Four national championship caliber still. We know that anything can happen in the tournament. But when you just look at the numbers, this team can hang around and absolutely make a deep run in the tournament. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Look, passion, drive, patience, the things that win college basketball national championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, whatever. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, all of which the 2021 Bears had, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit. That's right. Every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and exclusions do apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. We know it's a lot of y'all's resolutions, you small business owners, to do some hiring this year, expand your business. And look, LinkedIn Jobs knows that you have got so many hats to wear as a small business owner. So hiring is something they can help you out with, and they're the best at it. It ain't like any other job board, okay? It's got a network of more than 1 billion professionals, and it's easy to hire there when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. And looking at women's basketball now, of course, Baylor coming off another tough, tight loss in this very competitive Big 12 to a top 5 team in Kansas State that now stands at 19-1, comfortably at the top of the conference at 8-0 in the Big 12. And it was a very winnable game for Baylor. I think we all know that. You know, they don't score in the last 4.5 minutes, and Kansas State ends on a 6-0 run to win by 3. And I had the episode with Matt Linnell yesterday. Didn't want to hold that any longer. I thought he had some great analysis in there. So I kind of held off on the Nicki Collen press conference a little bit, but I'm always interested to see what she has to say after a game. Not to say that Scott Drew doesn't do this, but we always see with Nicki Collen, like, immediate improvements. Scott does it too. So that's why I'm always keeping in touch, with what she's saying in that game. And of course, in a game like this, where it kind of falls apart, I want to hear from the coach and how that breaks down. And I said it, Kansas State is one of the best defenses in the nation. They've been doing this to teams all season long, but they show that zone a little bit in the first half, mainly in the second half. Baylor was just eating them alive in the man-to-man. They'll use their pace, their speed, their decision-making, but in the zone and the way that Kansas State contests, it's a hard zone. It's a suffocating zone. And Baylor really got into a funk and got out of their offense. And with that, Nicki Collen saw a little something that she needs out of this team. She didn't have it in that game anyway, but she needs this for the team to improve and make that run towards the championships like we thought they were going to a few weeks ago.
I thought we did a good job early we had some pace on our passes. We made good decisions quickly in the high post and got it down low. In the second half, I've got to solve, my biggest, I got to figure out who I can put in the high post and make them a decision maker, because the high post is the kill spot against the zone. And we held it too long. We didn't see where the help was coming from. We didn't play under them. I showed them film when we played K-State last year. When we played them here, Caitlin Bickle, I think, had a double-double with assists. She just caught it in the high post and just shredded them. bounce passes to cutters, kick out passes for threes, and just was a facilitator from the high post. And when they beat us last year, they played us all man. So we anticipated they might go zone if we played well against their man because they'd had, but we just didn't get quick decisions. We held the ball on one side too long. Honestly, their length really, really bothered us. Sundell and both Glens, Maupin, their length bothered us on the perimeter. We didn't do a good job of playing around them, and when we held it too long, they congested in their length. They go for the ball. And we weren't getting any foul calls on kind of those 50-50 balls on Diggins. And I'm not saying they were. I don't think, we got enough free throws to win the game. We just didn't make them.
There was a lot there. Bit of a long-winded answer, but I thought it was great X's and O's talk for dummies like me who can understand that. How many times do we see it? Because we've seen teams over the last few years, especially on the men's side, go to zone defenses against Baylor. And there's an easy way to beat a zone, and that's to shoot over it. This Baylor team can't really do that. But with their quickness and their speed, they can also use the second best strategy against the zone, which is to find the soft spot. And a lot of times, if you space the floor right, it is that free throw line. And that's exactly what she's talking about there. She needs someone, Caitlin Bickle was absolutely this, who she mentioned in the answer, who can score from there, can hit the free throw line jumper, and someone who can distribute and make the right play. As Nicki Collen said, right now they just don't have that. And of course, I think you can find that on this team, but it's just not something they've had to utilize. And we're going to start to see more teams go to a zone against Baylor until they can figure that out. So that's clearly one of the reasons why they couldn't adjust and score the way they did in the first half. Another reason, which I talked about in the show the other day, in the breakdown on Tuesday's show, was I think there is a confidence issue. And maybe with that, a bit of a decision-making issue because of confidence. And Nicki also talked about that in the post-game presser and kind of what she saw from her eyes in terms of the shot selection that her team had in the second half.
We didn't have enough ball movement, so we need to give our ball handlers outlets when they put the ball on the floor. Now, we need to have a plan, and I think one of our biggest problems was when we attacked tonight, we didn't attack to score, we attacked to pass. And that was probably our biggest problem because I thought there was 3 separate occasions where we drove in there, had a layup, and turned it over trying to kick it when we needed to score the basketball. So we got to see the rim first. And I thought we turned down layups to throw the drift pass. And maybe we're playing behind the basket in the short, but you got to get your body angled, whether it's a reverse layup or just power dribble. But I just think they sat on those passes.
Of course, I think she hit the nail right on the head. Attacking to pass, not attacking to score. I used that Dariana Littlepage Bugs example with a minute left where she's got a lane to the hole. She's got someone helping on her, but has a look at the basket and doesn't look at the basket. Doesn't even look at the rim. She's thinking of pass the whole time. And like Nicki Collen said, Kansas State was looking for that. How many turnovers did we see on the second half off of that? Off of kickouts where the shooter looks wide open, but you got to make a long pass to get it there. That is what the zone loves. The zone defense eats that for breakfast, man. They love that crap. So I think when they look at the film, that's going to change a little bit. She's mentioned it this before. They're never going to be, or not this year, going to be like a tough play it all in the paint kind of team, but they can get to the hole better than they did against Kansas State. So I'm interested to see how that works for them. Lady Bears play on Saturday. We're of course we're gonna do a preview of that game as well as the men's game tomorrow, and then look more at how that offense shifted and changed for Monday's show. But of course, today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We are on to conference championship weekend. I've got San Francisco and Kansas City. I know, whatever. Big deal. Front runners, even though one of them's on the road. I would love to see Detroit there. That would be awesome. Anyway, you could still get in on the action with FanDuel with this action-packed Great weekend for football. Oh, yeah. And college basketball is really heating up as the weather gets cold. So right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And any kind of betting you want to do that involves sports, you can do that at FanDuel. Live same game parlays. You can see the parlay hub to see what other people are picking. You can find bets that could be suggested for you in the Explore tab. Player prop spreads, over-unders, all of that. You've got it at FanDuel Sportsbook. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to make that first bet a layup. Again, that's FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL and America's #1 sportsbook. And shifting gears over to football, big weekend for Baylor football. Junior Day coming on Sunday, and a lot of talented prospects are coming to Waco, but none maybe more so than London Smith. And if you don't know the name, you're going to know it very soon. If you're from here in Waco, you've probably already heard his name before. This kid is a stud, an absolute stud. He's only a sophomore, wide receiver at University High School here in Waco. Local product, same high school as a certain NFL Hall of Famer, LaDainian Tomlinson. I got to say, they play different positions, but London Smith's got a lot of LaDainian Tomlinson in him. He really does. Not the tallest guy on the field, but still growing at 6 feet and 175. And like LT had, absolute burners, just pure speed. You cannot teach that. And this kid's got it. Oh, yeah, and he's got some really good genes, too, by the way. He is a Baylor legacy. His dad, Rodney, and his mom, Stacy, met at Baylor. They were also incredible athletes. His mom was a literal national champion in the triple jump in '99 for Baylor track. And his dad, Rodney, played safety at Baylor for 4 years and in the top 10 all time in solo tackles and played a year of basketball at Baylor. That's how good an athlete he was. By the way, London's a really good basketball player too. And this kid is already drawing a ton of attention in the class of 2026, which seems so far away, but he is a top 50 prospect in some outlets, 55th by 24/7, which is the one that I usually go by the most. He's got some other offers. Baylor was the second one to offer him. They offered him 6 games into his high school career. Last year, as a freshman, midway through the season, they said, "Kid, we want you." They couldn't beat Austin Peay to the punch. That's head coach Scotty Walton, by the way, who's now at UTEP. But they were able to get in that boat pretty early. Since then, there have been some other folks that you might have heard of that have gotten in the boat. University of Texas, Oregon, Auburn, Tennessee, TCU, Tech, all of these schools have offered him. In fact, he already went to UT's junior day. That was last Saturday. So already some in-state competition as a sophomore. And this kid has deserved every bit of it. I mean, he is just an absolute stud. His freshman year, again, playing wide receiver, 36 receptions, 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then as a sophomore, he got better in everything. 51 receptions, 876 yards, 11 touchdowns. They use him in a ton of different ways, and he burns teams in a ton of different ways. Maybe the most impressive part about this, by the way, for London Smith, and those of you who know your high school football, especially in this area, will agree. This is the most impressive part. In 2021, the year before London Smith got to University High, the Trojans were 0-10. And they, not to pile on them, but they've been that way a lot the last decade or so. A couple of perfect seasons on the wrong end with 0 wins. 2022, they hire a new coach who has every bit to do with this as well. And they also bring in London Smith as a freshman. They go from 0-10 to 6-6, a 6-win improvement, make the playoffs. Incredible story. Then the next year, they do it even better. They go 7-4 and make the playoffs again. A lot of that has to do with London Smith. And there have been 2 great recruits, great college players out of University High. The first was Walter Abercrombie, who was one of the top 5 or 6 best football players ever at Baylor. Maybe the most accomplished skill position player ever at Baylor outside of RG3. He's right up there. Okay. The second one was the aforementioned LaDainian Tomlinson. And there are a couple different stories about why this happened, but Tomlinson wanted to go to Baylor bad. Baylor did not want him. Apparently too small. They told, within a 2 or 3 year span, 2 kids who wanted to play at Baylor in the 90s, which is crazy, that they were too small. One of them was LaDainian Tomlinson out of University High. The other was a quarterback who was pretty small, to be fair, out of Austin Westlake by the name of Drew Brees. Baylor legitimately missed out, 2 guys who wanted to go there, on 2 Hall of Famers in a span where they probably won 15 games in 4 years when London Smith's dad was playing there. So don't make this mistake again. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's got some insane talent. Baylor's been on him. Dave Aranda was actually at his basketball game last week. It's a tough ask, but at least be at the table. Don't let this one slip. He's the best prospect in this area, in this class. This last year's class, this 2024 class, had 2 5-star guys within 40 minutes of Baylor. Neither of them even considered Baylor. Wasn't even on the radar. Micah Hudson at Tech, Kobe Black from Conley High School in Waco going to UT. Didn't even have a thought about Baylor. Don't mess this one up. It has a lot of DJ Lagway in it, right? DJ Lagway, top talent. Baylor got on him early. He was the number 1 quarterback recruit in the nation this year, basically, by some outlets. His dad played at Baylor around the same time as London Smith's dad, and you got on the table, but you missed him. Get your cap on the table for London Smith. I don't know who the coach is going to be at that point, but this is a can't-miss prospect that you can ooh and ah early, which you already have, and be a kind of a program changer if he can come in and be the stud that he's projected to be. Watch the tape, guys. He is a star in the making. He's already a star at the high school level. He is going to be playing big time college football on Saturdays. Don't make the same mistake you did with the fellow University Trojan, LaDainian Tomlinson, and let him become a legend somewhere else, one of your rivals. Hopefully that's not the case. Tomorrow, we're breaking down both matchups over the weekend, but specifically, actually, come to think of it, that LaDainian Tomlinson connection, Baylor TCU, the Immortal 10 game at home on Saturday, where the Bears really need a win. And we'll have post game for that. We'll also break things down on Monday. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for making it your first listen every day. We're going to continue to do that for you. We're going to have it 7 a.m. ready for you. And leave a comment down below what you think on any of the topics today, but also just to help the algorithm a little bit. Help me out. That'd be really nice. We will be back tomorrow with that full breakdown and take a look ahead at Baylor's weekend in basketball and maybe a little bit of junior day. Who knows? Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. We will be back tomorrow. This is Locked On Baylor.